the Vols obviously had a breakthrough season last year. Now return with the same offensive system, not the exact same weapons, but plenty of weapons to work with on the offensive side, especially you look at that running back group that's back. Jabari Small, Jalen Wright are both back. And, Brew McCoy leads the way with that wide receiver group. Got some breakout candidates there with Squirrel White, Ramel Keaton. And, of course, there's Joe Milton, who takes over for Hendon Hooker. And that is one of the more polarizing topics, I think, for some people. There's some people who have Joe Milton as a Heisman favorite, the Heisman favorite. There are some who think that he could lose the starting job at some point this season. It's a very wide extreme when it comes to what people's thoughts are on just him. But I still think, when you look at just the system, what Josh Heupel's done there, I think the defense was something we kind of said last year. The defense was interesting. No, it wasn't the most talented defense in the SEC, but there were times where it's like, well, they gave up some points, but they just scored so many points that sometimes it's just kind of like one of those things where I don't think they were as bad as people sometimes made them out to be. I am still pretty much, all in on this Tennessee team. I think it's just a product of having a lot of talent, having a system that is proven to be effective. And really, it just comes down to what do you get for 12 games from Joe Milton. If you have the confidence in him to deliver, I don't see why, if you wouldn't be high on Tennessee coming into the season.
Yeah, and I'm on the extreme that I'm very bullish on Joe
Yeah.
Milton. I haven't bet him to win the Heisman. He's got 25-1 odds at FanDuel, but I'm still considering it. I may pull the trigger on just a little baby play on that, but I think he's going to be terrific. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Anthony Richardson, but maybe a little bit. I think he's got an inch taller than him, and well, Richardson's added some weight, so they're probably about the same weight. His arm strength is otherworldly, man. I mean, he like Richardson, it just seems to have no effort as well. I was really worried about his accuracy a couple of years ago, but I think it did him good to sit behind Hooker. And look, I mean, obviously it was two starts, Clemson, and then the blowout against Vandy, and then a lot of mop up duty. But 10 touchdown passes without an interception, 64.6 completion percentage. Like Richardson, he can tuck in and run too, and he can run you over as well. The receiver group is terrific. I mean, Phil Steele's national unit rankings have the Vols number 6 at the quarterback position, number 19 at running back, number 6 wide receiver. O line is 27, D line 28. Linebacker is the position group that Phil Steele's down on the most at number 54. The secondary is number 25, and special teams number 16. You look at the schedule. They're going to start 2-0 with 2 easy blowouts. At Florida, they're favored by 7.5 in games of the year at DraftKings, but they've lost 9 in a row there. We'll see how UF looks out west 2 weeks from today. But it's hard for me to just pencil in Tennessee to automatically get that W when they haven't won there in so long. So we'll see on that one. But, I think they should win at home the next 2, although UTSA does have a really good quarterback in Frank Harris. And that probably could be an overplay. I don't like to say that blindly without knowing the number, because I guess they could throw up something in the 70s out at us. But I think that'll be a very, very high scoring game. They are minus 13 to South Carolina on September 30th. They are minus 8.5 to Texas A&M. They get 2 weeks to prepare for the Aggies. At Bama, they're a 9.5-point underdog. We talked about last week what a difficult spot it is at Kentucky, with Kentucky having 2 weeks to prepare. At Missouri is going to be a look-ahead situation. Obviously, that's into November. We'll have to see where we are injury-wise. But if Tennessee is heavily favored and, Missouri is playing pretty decent football, Mizzou as a home dog could be a look there just because of the look-ahead factor. And it'll also be more of a look ahead if Tennessee is still in the SEC East race, and that the Georgia game will be a de facto SEC East title game. I think it probably will be. Georgia is favored by 8 in that game, so I have Tennessee 8-2, losing at Bama, losing at Kentucky, although that's a very winnable game. I just think it's a very
Yeah.
difficult spot there. And 8-2 with 2 games pending, Georgia and at Florida. They probably win at Florida, but they just don't win down there very often. We'll see. I'll give them that a W. And then I think they'll have a good chance against Georgia, if they're healthy and playing well, because there's a good chance, especially if Auburn and Florida don't give Georgia a game, there's a good chance Georgia rolls in there having, won every game by like, 15 to 20 points minimum, and they haven't had a close game. And then they get up at Neyland and, 100,000 plus, and they're in a tight game in the fourth quarter. And, we'll see how they react if they don't have a close game all year going into that. But in general, I think Tennessee is going to be really good. They're plus 430 to win the SEC East. Their win total is 9.5, but heavy juice on the under, and it's a pass for me.